I know that 1848 does not sound very old to you if you're from New England or from Europe, but 1848 is old for around here. You see, this is the last part of the United States, east of Mississippi, to still be Indian territory. Tennessee and Alabama had all been settled. And this was Cherokee territory. Now, unfortunately for the Cherokees, they discovered gold in North Georgia in 1829, and we had our first gold rush. No, when we first opened this restaurant, I had no intentions of giving a history talk. I hadn't even thought about it, and really didn't want this to be a Civil War restaurant at all, and tried talking the name. We did not want to use the word plantation. We used the word 1848, which was the year it was finished. 1847, a gentleman moved up here from Charleston, bought 3,000 acres, built this house, and named it Bushy Park Plantation. In 1847, they were just finishing the first railroad into North Georgia. Mr. Glover was buying the frontage along the railroad right-of-way for 7 miles solid from downtown Marietta to what is present downtown Smyrna.
Well, Bill had pretty much made the decision.
Well, my father, even before he bought the 1848 house, I had a very big interest in the hospitality industry. I had already started working for a caterer in Atlanta before I left for college.
I originally got involved when we first opened, just as a summertime job before going off to college.
I was working at a restaurant in Buckhead called Azalea, and a buddy of mine called me and said that Mr. Dunaway was looking for a chef.
I always liked fine dining. I liked history.
Pulling his love of history and fine dining together.
And he got us more involved as time went on.
I got bit by the restaurant bug.
As a hostess from time to time.
After a few interviews, I was hired on board.
And I've been living elsewhere for many years, and when I decided to move back to Atlanta, I initially came back here just temporarily until I found another job, but was looking to do something in marketing and with restaurants. And we had a need here at the restaurant for that position.
My first impression of the 1848 house was
grand.
My first impression goes back to childhood. I spent a lot of time over here as a child.
I remember coming back here into this area, actually into the lounge, and I just remember thinking how dark it was.
That it was completely enchanting.
Just this grandiose, beautiful home.
My first impression probably was mansion on Turtle Creek.
A man named William King owned this house in the 1860s. And good old William had a real bad sense of timing because he decided to have his summer here in 1864, and that was a wrong summer to be in Marietta, Georgia. Because that's when the North sent down their first urban renewal specialist, a little guy by the name of General Sherman. Well, William King's father's name was Roswell King, as in the founder of Roswell, Georgia. I don't like to say it's the Confederates were retreating, but as they were passing through here, it was a rear guard action of a dismounted Confederate cavalry trying to slow up 2 Indiana infantry regiments and a Michigan artillery battery. The Michigan artillery battery is where the Marietta Conference Center is now. Well, later on, when Sherman started his march to the sea, he didn't leave too many things standing here in Marietta. He destroyed all government buildings, all private business buildings. He destroyed all bridges, the railroad, and he destroyed over 100 homes in Marietta. And this is one of the few fine homes that did survive.
The first time I had seen it when the Garrisons lived here, it was, of course, beautifully decorated.
And loved kind of the, the grandeur of the place.
I think it was very important. First of all, we all wanted it because we really knew that with my father's interest in history, and our family had always had an interest in restaurants. I certainly did, and so it was definitely a family project. One of the first things we did when we got the restaurant is we had cleanup day.
I think it made sense to me that, and combined all the things that he loves: food, wine, history. It just kind of seemed a natural fit. And so, of course, we were behind him 100%.
I thought that joining a family business would be something that would be a good thing, because the restaurant business is very difficult, and having the family involved, I thought, would be a plus.
This was something the whole family could get into and do as a a project together, and it was a rather exciting venture.
I couldn't have done it if I didn't have the support of Dot and my 3 daughters.
If the family were totally uninvolved, I don't know if it could have been done at all.
It was a very important family decision. We were all in it together.
I'm trying to think what I remember most.
Probably running up and down the stairs.
The time I spent thinking how we wanted to decorate it, trying not to use tacky silk flowers more than necessary, but to bring real pretty things in from the yard and from wholesalers. That was mostly my job, to do dried flower arrangements and seasonal decorating.
What do I remember most about my time here?
The hosting at night is the fun part.
Well, the meals, of course.
I think I'm going to remember most just the people.
Telling ghost stories with children in the house. I would always tell any child that walks in the house. I love, not scary ghost stories, of course, but enchanting, fun ghost stories.
And this almost, does feel like home to me.
I love this house, so I can't really describe it. I felt like I was a guardian for this thing for 10 years.
When I think of the house, I think of history.
The Grand Plantation Manor.
It's beautiful.
If I could describe the house in one word,
Beautiful,
it would just be
historic.
enchanting.
It's charming.
This was serving as Union Hospital after a battle that's not very well known called the Battle of Allatoona that took place north of here about 10 miles at Allatoona Pass, first part of October. That little-known battle has a very dubious distinction because you see they needed a lot of hospitals at the end of that battle because of all battles that Americans have ever fought in any war, that battle had the highest casualty rate. The North had a 47% casualty rate and the South had a 43% casualty rate. Fortunately, it was not that large of a battle as far as numbers of men. But another sidebar, when it was a hospital, the upstairs room at the back right-hand corner up on the second floor was what passed as the operating room back then. They knew nothing about bacteria, but they had learned by that time, the Civil War, if they would put the operating room where they had good sunlight and good ventilation, they'd have less problems. And that's the room that we have more weird things happen in than any other room in the house.
My fondest memory of the house.
I got married here.
People at probably weddings.
I suppose one Halloween night, when it was the year when Halloween fell on a Monday and the restaurant was closed, we came here and we spent the night. And that was me and 3 of my friends, and my dad came and spent the night too. And I just remember that being a really scary and fun night.
Probably the most fun night we've all ever had here was the night of my wedding with Tom. We had our wedding reception here. It was in late February, February 27th. We tented the whole backyard. We had a great band. We had so many people here, and it was really the most fun night we've all had here. I think Tom and I got kicked out about 1 a.m. We got kicked out of our own wedding reception because we just didn't want to leave, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful evening. And that was one of the first times I've actually seen the whole family have fun together and enjoy it, and the staff did a terrific job.
I think my fondest memories involve Christmas.
During the Olympics, I think when we hosted Delta, Swatch, Sensormatic, all of the main Olympic sponsors, and just seeing their faces. We had a lot of famous athletes out here, a lot of famous broadcasters, and just seeing their faces when they saw this place, it was as if they were, it was we were honored to have them here and to let them catch a glimpse of the history of the area, the history of Marietta and the house. And that was just a lot of fun to see their reaction to the house, to the grounds. And it was just a lot of fun to have that many people here at once and just absolutely loving it.
At night, just full of life with people everywhere, and there's the Christmas decorations and the cheer in the air.
As you wander around the house, and I hope you do, If it looks like an antique, it generally is, and it all is from that period. And I hope you'll go to the original kitchen in the backyard, because the stone house out there has been restored, and everything you see in the stone house either does predate the Civil War or is the style that could have been there.
I will miss
I think just the house itself.
the staff.
The staff
The interaction with the people that are here,
and the people.
some of the people have been here quite a long time.
And the guests that come in the restaurant, being able to tell them about the restaurant.
Well, the house has a special personality of its own, and the feel of the house.
And just being able to come here.
The people are who I miss the most.
Everybody supported me as well as you have through the years.
What do I love most?
The fireplaces going in the winter, the smell and the aroma of the wood. Even now in the summer where it's hot, you can still come in here and smell that there's been a fire going all winter.
The house and the grounds both.
The atmosphere.
It's a quiet spot in Marietta.
There's a lot of things I love.
This was mine.
It's really nice to be here and to see the seasons change. The gardens are beautiful in the spring.
And my family's. And, no one else had anything to do with it except us.
The land, it's very quiet here.
The grounds and the house itself.
It's the history, you know, the what makes the 1848 house what it is. Basically the history, the antiques, just the surroundings.
There's nothing physical that I dislike about this house.
Our location.
I think I disliked my dad's schedule the most.
Well, it's definitely a little enclave and a little privacy. It's incredibly hard to find.
If the family wants to see each other, we work together.
The day after Thanksgiving, the Monday after Thanksgiving, was always the day to start Christmas decorations.
Not only that, but even in the kitchen itself, you know, the distance between where we plate the food and then the distance where the customer is sitting is a long way away.
I guess the challenge of redoing this house, refurbishing it, adding on to it, it's been the most interesting part because we have no blueprints, no drawings, no schematics.
Hi, I'm Ed Gabriel. I've been the general contractor for Bill and the 1848 house for now over 10 years. We started back before the restaurant opened, and Bill called me and wanted to bring the house back to the era in which it was built. Part of the house has been built after that time, and we were to upgrade it and date it back to that era.
And we were sitting up in one of the rooms. Actually, it was in the garrison room right there. And I was just kind of staring off into space as they talked about decorations. And there's 4 rocking chairs out in the front porch. And I just noticed one rocking back and forth. And then that one stopped. And I kind of hit Mom and said, "Mom, look at that. That's kind of weird." And then right when the other one stopped, the next one started rocking. And it was just like someone was sitting there, but there was no one around. There was no breeze, and no one was outside. We were closed. And then we kind of yelled at everybody to look, and all of them stopped.
You know, maybe it's best that we end on a good note.
It was not an easy decision.
I guess it was discussed over the period of time. I remember Christmas.
My dream was always to build multi-unit cottages in the woods, 40 or 50 bedrooms.
We got together and we decided that that the end was near.
But about 4 or 5 years ago, I realized that how much money I'd have to borrow to realize that dream and how long that would put me into debt.
We'd known for some time that there was a huge financial burden, and also if we had been 10 or 15 years younger,
at some point that we were going to have to shut it down.
When I came home from college, they told me that night.
But we made the decision literally for mental, physical, as much as financial relief too. And we loved the place.
And looking ahead at what was coming, and didn't really see anything changing, and just knew that it was better to get out now and leave people with a, do it right, end on a good note.
We would have kept it going, but we all made this family decision together that, I think it's time to close this chapter in our history.
It's sad, it was a great place to be.
I've loved it, and you don't realize how much you love it until you're about to lose it.
It's been a pleasure to be involved with it. I didn't ever intend to become so involved as I have become involved.
I'm going to miss, and I spent a lot of time up in the attic, and that was a fun place to look out. And believe it or not, at Christmas and the fall especially, all the Christmas decorating, but fall decorations were pretty extensive too, and it was always fun and hectic too, but to collect the hay bales and the corn stalks and get the front of the house and the back of the house all decorated, and it was a good feeling when it was done because it looked so good.
It's been fun.
Say goodnight, not goodbye. You will never leave my heart behind. Like the path of a star.
1848 house, please come this way.
I'll be anywhere you are. In the spark that lies beneath the coals, in the secret place inside your soul. Keep my light in your eyes. Say goodnight, not goodbye. Don't you fear when you dream, waking up is never what it seems. Like a jewel very deep, like a promise meant to keep. You are everything you wanna be, so just let your heart reach out to me. I'll be right by your side. Say goodnight, not goodbye. Just let your heart reach out to me. Keep my light in your eyes. Say goodnight.